Hello, my friends. Today we are looking at the new Fujifilm XM5, the first of its kind for the brand, which looks to be kind of like a shot across the bow for the likes of Sony and Panasonic and others who've traditionally been dominating this creator class. And Fujifilm is no doubt riding the wave of popularity driven primarily from the X100 series cameras. The XM5 is now likely the most powerful and capable creator or entry style camera on the market, and at the same price point as cameras that have far less features. In today's video, I'm going to quickly cover the most standout features and in which cases where users may want to look at maybe a different model. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Similar to the Sony E10 Mark II, the XM5 is another line of those EVF-less cameras that are designed for those who've been using their cell phones up until now, so the lack of a viewfinder isn't really going to be missed. It is, however, designed to speak to those who want enhanced quality and creativity that is really just simply impossible to get even from the most advanced mobile devices. And the XM5 is the first camera of its kind to shoot in full 6K, in full 10-bit 422, as well as 12-bit ProRes and Blackmagic RAW external, borrowing the tech heavily from their other recent Fujifilm cameras. The footage is just as gorgeous as it would be coming from any other Fujifilm camera. Designed for web creators, the one small handicap will be the internal top data transfer rate of 200 megabits per second, but those who want the full power can still shoot RAW externally. The real story is really how 200 megabits per second can be far too much for most needs, and that this camera can now throttle the bitrate down to 8 or 25 megabits per second, making transferring to your phone for social media posts a total breeze, and it's unlikely anyone on social media is ever going to be able to perceive a difference in quality. Ultra slow motion of the 120 frames per second looks beautiful and clean and sharp, despite it being limited to only 1080p compared to some of the other higher performing Fujifilm cameras. The camera still pumps out 60p at 4K, and that is likely more than good enough for most use cases. The next big change is going to be in their onboard audio. They've placed 3 microphones on the top of the camera, and similar to the Sony E10 Mark II, giving you full control over its directionality, allowing you to choose either front priority, back, or surround. Now, it used to be that on-camera audio wasn't really even usable, but it's advanced so much now that in many cases, creators who talk to their camera may never need an external mic source. It still doesn't totally replace the quality of a good external mic, but for many who've up until now just been using their phone, this is definitely a step up. All right, just to give you a sense of the difference, let's start off with full surround sound with no noise reduction on. Here is what we're typically used to when it comes to onboard audio from mirrorless cameras. Now, this is the audio when we have just front priority selected. You should be able to hear that it is much more focused on the sound of my voice and less, well, everything else. Now I've turned on steady state noise reduction, and this is sort of internal processing noise reduction. I don't really know how it works. I don't know if it's like smart AI or if it's just taking out certain frequencies so that the sound of my voice is much more present in the mix, in the recorded audio, less so the sound of the wind, less so the sirens and the planes and the construction. You're really just going to hear the sound of my voice. The downside to that, of course, is sometimes it's going to modulate the voice a little bit as it's competing. Right now we can hear there's a siren, an ambulance or police car. I don't know if that is going to change how much is picking up my voice and trying to eliminate that. But sometimes when there's competing frequencies, like the sound of a voice, you're going to have some modulation with things like this. The next setting is the wind reduction setting. So anytime you're in a place like this that's a little bit breezy, the breeze is kind of coming and going here, so you'll get small gusts of wind. So it might sound all well and good, and then suddenly, a slight breeze comes along. And this is here just to eliminate some of that breeze sounds. Feeling a slight breeze right now. So not sure it's doing its job. In this case, I've left on the noise reduction. So again, it's another layer of frequency modulation, another layer of processing that may be working hard to compete with other sounds that are similar to my voice. So you might hear some modulation in my voice as well. So just to eliminate what the noise reduction is doing, separate from the wind reduction, I'm going to turn off the noise reduction right now. All right, so noise reduction is now off, but we still have the front priority microphone on. And what we have now is just the wind reduction on. And there is, again, a slight breeze. So you should be able to hear the difference that makes. I'm going to add one more noise reduction feature, and that's not anything to do with the camera actually. This is if you use any modern NLE. I use DaVinci Resolve. There's also this feature in Adobe Premiere, which is the post noise reduction feature that uses some level of intelligence. And the question for me is, if users have powerful edit software, do they actually need the steady state noise reduction? And can we get a better quality sound with just what we can get in post and leaving everything sort of off the camera? And in this particular case, I actually don't know what to expect. And that's a good thing, because you should make up your own mind instead of having me tell you what you think you should be listening for. The one handicap with the XM5 is that there's no cold shoe windsock for the microphones, like the one that comes with the Sony E10. But I wouldn't be surprised if a third-party brand makes one available, or Fujifilm themselves. This one little thing goes a very long way to improving wind noise, and you could just leave off the wind filter, which can leave you with some of those missed frequencies in your audio. Like all other vlogging cameras, there is a dedicated vlogging mode with all the bells and whistles that you would expect. The most important ones to highlight are the background to focus feature, product priority, portrait enhancer, countdown timer, and a 9:16 short movie mode that records short clips and doesn't really require you to reposition your camera vertically. Like all cameras from all other brands in this category, Fujifilm has also excluded the use of an internally stabilized sensor, so no IBIS with this camera, which saves space and keeps the cost down. Now, the camera is best used with an optically stabilized lens, like the compact 15-45 kit lens that is paired with this camera. Additional stability can also be achieved from digital stabilization and an additional boost mode. When I tested these modes against a Fujifilm camera with IBIS, you can see how the camera with the stabilized sensor doesn't necessarily give you the smoothest footage, but it is the most natural while smoothing out quite well. I will say that the XM5 boost mode does very well, but similar to any other camera with a digital stabilization, you do open yourself up to aberrations in the image, especially when shooting at slower shutter speeds. You can combat this a little by shooting at higher shutter speeds, but then you may not like the frenetic sharp image that it creates. Honestly, for most users' needs, this will be more than good enough. But for those who need better quality, well, then you probably should jump up to one of Fujifilm's stabilized sensor cameras like the XS20. Yes, that camera is about $600 more or less Canadian than the XM5. But you get almost all the same features, an EVF, a hand grip, and higher video bit depths. For some, that may be more than worth it. For me, the reason to buy this camera over other brands is the same argument that I make for all Fujifilm cameras. The best camera you have is the one that you have with you. Fujifilm cameras have that nostalgic appeal that make them both a powerful creative tool and a fashion accessory. If you're too embarrassed by the technical design of your camera to take it with you, well, then you're not getting the most value out of it. Fujifilm cameras aren't just about looks, because they are also known for their beautiful film simulations that work both in photo and in video modes. And the dynamic range from the F-Log profile give the user a camera that it would take a very long time to outgrow, which is not the same thing I can say for many of the camera's competitors at this very moment. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please comment in the comment section down below. And if you like the jib of my jab, then please hit that subscribe button. I think that's the first time I've ever said hit that subscribe button. It feels kind of gross, but we all do it now, don't we? For me, for now, I'm out. Peace.